Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the next session. It's my pleasure to announce the session sponsored by ION today. You saw a brief video already. They also have a booth downstairs, so if you have some time later, please visit their booth. Today's session is about the Treasury transformation and centralization journey of SHV Treasury. Maybe for the non-native speakers here, as a nice quiz to afterwards pronounce the full name, which is the Steenkolen Handelsvereniging. That's for the to win the socks afterwards, maybe. But I think the team will introduce themselves in a bit more detail. But we have Brian of ION here, Joanna of SHV, and our very own Bart of Zanders, who will take you through the journey. So please give them a welcome.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Mark. So if we flick to the next slide, just to give you a quick overview of the agenda of what we're going to discuss today. So today is going to be a panel session focusing on how SHV's fragmentation journey go from fragmentation to unified. And we're going to have an introduction first to give you a bit of background on SHV Holding, the background of the project, and then we're going to have an interactive kind of Q&A between myself, Joanna, and Bart, and then follow up by some summary and wrap up. So my name is Brian, so I head up the solution consulting team within ION Treasury. I've been with the company for 7 years, based in London, focusing on a lot of product demonstrations and workshops, focusing on a few different solutions, including Reval, IT2, as well as Wall Street Suite. Very happy to be here to kind of moderate and lead this panel session. We also have Joanna.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joanna Lepida. I'm Treasury Operations Manager in the front office team of SHV Holdings, based in Utrecht. I have over 15 years of hands-on experience on various areas in Treasury operations, and since joining SSV in 2018, I have led various initiatives and projects within Treasury with a strong focus on Treasury technology, including system upgrades and IT transformations. Thank you for inviting us.
For Joanna?
Yeah. It doesn't work?
No. My name is Bart Timmerman. I'm a director in the team at Zanders, advising our corporate clients on Treasury best practices and technology. With the company for almost 20 years, and before that worked in corporate Treasury in various roles. Always involved in Treasury operations and technology, and that's also my focus in Zanders these days, and also my connection with SHV, actually.
Hello?
Yes. There you are.
Very good. So just to give you a few words about an introduction about SHV. It was founded in 1896 as a coal trading company, and since then it has changed a lot and evolved to a large corporate. It's a family-owned company, very diverse and very decentralized, and it's active through its groups in energy distribution, animal nutrition, heavy lifting and transportation, testing, inspection and certification, private equity, and cash and carry wholesale. It has 23 billion euros annual revenue and employs more than 50,000 people in 75 countries across the world. It's worth mentioning that SHV considers its group as part of a broader family. Their individual identity is respected and valued, and SHV is committed to a long-term strategic vision for each group, one that supports sustainable growth and development over time. So it should not be compared to a private equity firm that focuses on short-term returns. We use IT2 since 2007, so it's a long-term relationship. And our key processes are cash management, bank account reconciliation, foreign exchange, intercompany funding, trade finance, payments, and reporting. And now...
Yeah, maybe I can tell a little bit about the journey that we did with SHV. So we started conversations, I think, in the end of 2023 as part of our regular alignments, and we had discussions about the fragmentation actually that we noticed in SHV. So as Joanna already mentioned, all of the portfolio companies are operating quite independently. And we noticed that there were different processes in place, different technologies used, 2 instances of the same system, IT2, and several add-on functionalities which were different across the portfolio companies. So we started a journey basically to understand where can we harmonize processes, where can we harmonize technology. So we started that through different ways. We did an online survey with the participants of SHV. We did interviews, and we had several brainstorm sessions with all of the key Treasury team members involved, which identified a number of pain points that we noticed in the different companies. Before actually going into designing a roadmap for SHV, we decided to do a market scan. So look at what technologies are available in the market. Is SHV still using the right technology for their processes, being a client of ION for more than 20 years? And did a market scan, which in the end resulted in the project that we're now engaging on, and that is the harmonization project, resulting basically in a re-implementation of the IT2 system and the surrounding technologies. So that's a little bit the background to the project that we engaged on.
And yeah, so today the panel session is going to focus on 4 key main areas. So those 4 key areas includes what's kind of the strategic vision, as well as the decision-making process with regards to looking at the landscape altogether, partnering with Zanders, and then what's the ideal landscape would look like. Then we're going to also discuss the implementation as well as change management. So for those in the audience where you might be thinking about the transformation project, how can you actually convince your internal stakeholders to make sure and persuade them that maybe opting in for a system and undergoing a selection process is needed. Then we're also going to talk about kind of the technology and integration, obviously, with this particular project is a treasury landscape on selecting a TMS, but it also interacts with a lot of other systems as well, such as your market data providers, your dealing platforms, as well as your bank connectivity needs as well. So how do you actually select a TMS platform that essentially supports the integration across this landscape? And then ultimately, obviously, because we also want to look ahead after the implementation, what's next for SHV? So we're really going to start off with the first topic, just around kind of strategic vision as well as the decision making. So maybe first question to you, Joanna. Why did SHV first start from a fragmented landscape going to a more centralized landscape? What was the reasoning behind that?
So just to clarify, we do not want to centralize Treasury as a whole, because our groups are have so different business models, so different financing structures and risks, and we want to keep the expertise in the groups to fulfill the requirements. What we do want to centralize is the systems and processes. We want to get the foundation right to be in control. And we see a lot of benefits in centralization, because we will have better cash visibility, better FX exposure. We will have better reporting, because we will have a single source of truth. Currently, we have multiple treasury systems. Then, by standardization of processes and systems, the treasury teams can serve as backup of each other. Because in our case, in each group, all the treasury teams are very small, and this is a bit challenging for us. And of course, we want to future-proof our technology and evolve even further our treasury landscape and our treasury processes.
And obviously, I guess from the slide, you can also see an example of the business objectives that Zanders have helped draft at the start of the project. Really about getting the foundation right, one single source of truth, and harmonizing, getting processes and standardization across these workflows. And obviously future-proofing as well, which is super, super important. I don't know whether, Bart, you have anything to add?
No, I think one of the main challenges also that SHV had is indeed what Ariane said, the various treasury teams which are very small teams in general. So resulting in challenges over time on making sure that all the treasury operations can be managed. So I think the main objective actually was to make sure that situation is managed going forward, that teams can really back up each other and where possible are already one team in centralization perspective. I think that is one of the main conclusions that we drafted from the whole exercise, right?
Yes, it works, right?
Yes. Okay. Perfect. So knowing that, that's kind of the goal that you want to reach. So if we look at the current landscape right now, how does it currently look like, and where do you want to be next?
Maybe I can go through the current treasury landscape. We have IT2, and 3 of our groups make use of our system. We have also IT2 Anywhere, which is a lighter version of IT2 where business units across the world can send their FX requests, their fund transfer requests, make payment instructions, approvals, even review several reports. We have Refinitiv, that is our market data system that is also integrated with IT2 via an API. We have our trading platform, our ERP that is also connected with IT2. And for bank statements and treasury payments, we also use Swift, which is also linked with IT2. And then, as you can see here, Nutreco has a separate IT2 instance. They have their own trading platform, their own ERP, their own bank connectivity solution, several host-to-host connection with the banks. So you can see here that we have multiple treasury systems in the current situation, which creates combining data and processes a bit challenging. In addition, we have limited cash visibility because there is no structure group-wide on the cash flow forecasting process. Also, reporting is heavily manual and Excel-based. And in general, we're struggling in combining several reports and information and even meeting our deadlines. And as I mentioned earlier, there is an additional challenge that the treasury teams of each of our group are very small. So that is an operational risk. We believe that if we could standardize system and processes, we could ensure continuity by having backup and interchangeability between the treasury teams.
Yeah, great. And so that's what it looks like as right now. So where do you want to be? What's your ideal state of the treasury landscape?
So the ideal state could be that we would have a single instance of IT2 that all our groups would make use of it. The market data connection would remain as is. We will have a single trading platform. Each group would maintain their own ERP system, but it will be directly linked with IT2, enabling tailored but integrated operations. And then there is also the plan to replace Swift with a unified bank connectivity solution that would serve all the groups and would also be linked with IT2.
Oh.
Yes.
So now knowing that that's kind of the ideal target landscape that you would like to achieve, I guess the next step, obviously with the help of Xanders originally, as mentioned by Bart, you initiated kind of a string of processes whereby you try to engage with the internal stakeholders in the C-suite. So what you see is the kind of the bigger challenges in trying to align first with, your different operations as well as these subsidiaries. What are the bigger challenges in aligning the processes that you envision to be happening in these future landscape?
Maybe I can answer that question. I think what is very common and I think a very natural habit of people is to think in limitations. So this is what we're currently doing, and we're doing it this way because it cannot be done in a different way, either because we don't have the manpower or the technology or the knowledge. I think one of our challenges was to have people think out of the box. So think in opportunities rather than limitations. And dream basically what we call the Walt Disney dream. So what would be your ideal way of working and your ideal landscape? this is easily said, not easily done, and I think this comes in cycles basically. So we have discussions on certain processes. How can we harmonize them? How can we standardize them? In every of those discussions, you need to try to break that barrier again and think in opportunities. And maybe also good to mention, as it was not the intention to force the way of working from the holding company onto the operating companies, to the portfolio companies, but use the best of all the worlds available. So where Nutreco or Kiwa or Energy had a better process for doing cash management or FX risk management, then that is the process that we would like to adopt for the entire organization. So learn from each other and make use of the best possibilities available. I think the main challenge indeed was to think in that way and basically dream the dream.
Yes.
Yeah, so really about like breaking down the silos as well as trying to encourage communication between these kind of subsidiaries that perhaps historically aren't really talking to each other, but trying to engage with them as more from a group level so that you can share best practices, right? Yep. So how about managing kind of stakeholders' expectation as well? How would you get the stakeholders buy-in, perhaps from your C-suite, from your CFO, CEO, and so on, as well as from perhaps the leaders in each of one of those subsidiaries? How do you get their buy-in into this project?
First, we had to align with the board in order to secure the budget and secure commitment from the top. Next in line was to involve the CFOs of each group and get their approval. The response was very supportive and very positive. And then, of course, the treasury teams were involved from the beginning. And we saw in general, we used to work more together and leverage each other's knowledge. And we saw a lot of benefits in this project because the ideal model would simplify daily operations for everyone. It would increase efficiency and would even free up time for more value-add activities for the treasury teams.
Yeah, and I think one key word that I noted there is really simplification, because I feel like sometimes people think of these big grand idea with very complex processes, but in your particular case, it's really how to simplify the overall process to make it easier for everyone, because no one likes complex processes. And so that's kind of the landscape that you've hoped to strive for. And obviously from the background, we also mentioned a selection process was made, and we obviously you have engaged with multiple other vendors to kind of validate your requirements against which system can ultimately fit the processes that you've designed. So how have you actually validated IT2 ultimately is the system of choice that you want to continue relationship, obviously, but also from a functionality and integration standpoint, supports the requirements that you have?
Well, given the fact that we want to standardize systems and processes, we didn't assume that IT2 was the right process. We had to validate it. So together with Zanders, we went into the validation process where we performed a light RFP, and we invited several TMS vendors, market alternatives to IT2. And from that process, IT2 emerged as the perfect fit for us, because comparing it to the other TMSs, we didn't see any definitive reason to switch systems.
Yeah, maybe I think that was also one of the basic assumptions or objectives in this process, is not to disrupt the organization by overhauling technology completely and starting with a completely new solution for everyone, but first proof if current technology can be reused in a more optimized way. And given what you just said, we did look at other solutions. They could all more or less do what SHV needed and the portfolio companies needed. But that also strengthened the case to stay with IT2, because there was not a real differentiator for any of the other solutions to change technology and disrupt the organization. So I think that was a very clear standpoint that we took. So we didn't want to disturb people. We wanted to really support them in this process.
Yeah, and I remember, obviously that selection process took place probably around a year ago today. I remember it was like September 2024. And as part of that validation process as well, when Zanders as well as SHV approached ION, we also took the opportunity to validate it against our our ION sets of portfolio of solutions, because obviously within ION Treasury we have 7 treasury management systems. So we also want to do a validation and say, is IT2 also the right fit for you as well? So I guess coming back to you again, Bart, obviously ultimately we've selected IT2, but are there specific IT2 functionalities that you see as part of that selection process that wins against not only the ION alternative that we propose, as well as kind of other competitors?
Yeah, I think one of the key differentiator was the ability to achieve both data segregation, so making sure that each of the entities see their data and not each other's data, and at the same time standardize processes, so harmonize the processes in one and the same solution, and also that supported the ability to do the interchangeability of people. So in the situation that one of the teams is short on staff and another treasury team needs to take over, that it's easily to actually change the role of a specific user to also look at the data of one of the other portfolio companies. I think that was one main differentiator. The other one was the ability to optimize the processes in such a way that we would change from a day-to-day managing the flow process to really go to an exception-based process management. So alert the people to the actions that require their attention rather than doing everything in a sequential way. I think the process maps and tiles and everything in IT2 can really support that, really alerting the attention of the user to what needs their attention rather than going through an entire menu of steps.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think, obviously knowing IT2 very well myself, I think from talking to a lot of clients, a key aspect for them managing a treasury team, especially in an SHV case where it involves, a high volume of kind of users and a number of different entities, as well as a number of trades that need to be managed. With all that complexity, it really needs to be exceptionally based so that you can really help to identify those. Maybe a payment needs to be approved. How many of those need to be approved, so that you can easily see that within a process map. And also maybe a statement hasn't come through, where hasn't it come through, as well as other exceptions that you typically can identify and encounter during a normal treasury operation. So having some sort of a dashboard or a process map that allows you to do that is really a key functionality, I'd say, within IT2 probably. I guess Joanna would agree. And and noting that, obviously from this, I guess the current stage right now is that you have initiated on the implementation and re-implementation of IT2, and that's still ongoing. How's that going so far?
Well, at the moment we're finalizing the design phase, where we, together with the groups, we go through all the systems and all the processes, and then we discuss and decide on best practices. And indeed, we have set it up the new database, let's say, but the next step is the implementation phase, where we plan to re-implement IT2 into a single instance, and also install a unified bank connectivity solution that will replace SWIFT. And also build the right foundation in order to accommodate any future M&A activities that may take place in the future. And in addition, we want to enhance the cash flow forecasting. We want to connect to Power BI and Data Lake for management reporting, and even explore any AI possibilities that IT2 already offers. I saw.
Yeah, so I think, I guess, the aim or takeaway is really, thinking about today as well as the future. So it's really about kind of the scalability of the solution. And within, ION Treasury, we definitely have a few different offerings around, machine learning on cash flow forecasting, for example, as well as on cash tagging, cash matching, as well as for payments anomaly detection as well. So, as and when SHV does want to scale towards those future needs, then, you also have a solution that can future-proof that as well. And maybe one bonus question for both of you, and I can answer them as well. It's around the advice that you want to give to the crowd. So if any of you down there is kind of thinking, at the audience thinking, oh, I really want to initiate with a selection process. I want to select a new system, whether you are coming from a different system, going into a new system to validate your existing system, or even just coming from Excel, want to select a TMS to try to automate some of those processes. What would you think are the best advice that you'd give for those who are, on that journey?
I would start with internal aligning. I want make sure that your objectives are clear and shared across the organization, and transparency is also very important.
I think allow yourself time for a project like this. So I think what I really appreciated in this project is that we went from first forming an idea and involving all the stakeholders that play a role in the Treasury activities to think about what do we want to achieve. And then allow yourself also to formulate a business case, a convincing business case, to get approval from C-level, but also buy-in from everyone involved, that everyone sees the benefit of doing this project. That takes time. It took us a year, basically, before we actually started on the actual project. And I think that is one of the key learnings, I think, for a lot of organizations. We all want to move quickly, you want to have things completed rather yesterday than today. But creating the buy-in is really essential for a project like this. And I think SHV really took the effort, also made the budget available to do that, which is not always the case. So I think as Sanders, we really appreciated that, because a project like this can only succeed if you have that buy-in from the entire organization.
And maybe I'll add to that as well from a kind of a technology vendor standpoint. Obviously, we provide the software and the solution which supports perhaps the automation of some of those workflows as well as processes. But it's very important for us, before actually implementing anything, is to have a defined and structured process. So I think, in that particular case, Anders definitely helped a lot by, really outlining, oh, this is currently where you are at, this is where you want to be, these are the gaps. So, these are the additional requirements that you need, and this is how a solution can fit those processes. Because without that kind of defined and structured process in place, it can get a bit messy, during implementation, because you don't really know what you want. So by first really engaging with the consultants, trying to understand, what you really want, where do you want to be, not just today, but in kind of 2, 5, 10 years time, and then work backwards and then to say, okay, based on this, now I'm going to approach and select a system based on those findings. I think it's a much more structured way. It's more, way smoother for all of us here as well, because we're not engaged in the initial kind of discovery process on the processes, on the defining of the Treasury landscape. We are coming in at the right stage whereby, now you know what you want, and then we help implement. So I'll open up to the floor for questions. I know we have roughly 15 minutes, and Shelley has a mic, so any questions on what we've discussed?
Yep.
Yes.
It's one to you.
Yeah, many thanks for the presentation. I was wondering, to which extent was the family liking all of this? Because you were referring to, or some of you actually carefully avoided the word, we're stressing fragmentation. Well, from a family perspective, it may actually refer to segmentation or even compartmentalization being actually a positive thing, diversifying their wealth across different businesses and absolutely avoiding that one element could sink the other in a similar fashion that a lack of compartmentalization did sink the Titanic. So to which extent did the family prefer this further degree of centralization, or were you effectively kept at certain limits doing so due to that preference?
As I said, we do want to keep autonomy to the groups, because there are certain things that we cannot centralize. We only want to centralize systems and processes on the front office activities. we want to keep it that way. And we saw after discussing with all the groups that everyone is on board and everyone see benefits on centralization of processes.
Yeah, and I think so what we also try to achieve is that the local treasury teams of each of the portfolio companies are the internal advisors to the rest of the company. So that the local entities know where to find their treasury team. Whereas where we can centralize, like back office activities or cash management activities or trading activities, which can create benefits for all the organizations, then that's the level to centralize. So I think what we're achieving now is local treasury satellites that talk to their business, that know their business very well, much better than you would know at holding level. That can help the treasury team at holding level to hedge their risks in the market, to make sure that liquidity is used in the most efficient way.
Without a sweeping, pooling.
There's also sweeping and pooling going on, but to a certain extent. I think that's also something that we positioned for the roadmap after this project to also maybe look at, is there further optimization possible in that area? But maybe you remember the remark, make sure that the foundation is right. That was the quote of one of the treasurers of one of the portfolio companies, and that is what we want to achieve first before we go into next steps.
Yeah, and one of our next projects is also bank account rationalization and bank rationalization, because across the groups we have a very large number of banks that we want to really minimize. And yeah, thanks for your question. Any other question?
Hi, thank you for the presentation. It's related to what you were saying just now. Where do you see the opportunities for better management of liquidity across the opcos down the future? And then on the bank rationalization side, where do you see opportunities to standardize in the future?
Yeah, so we have several RCFs, and that actually we have at the moment 17 banks in the holding that we have a relationship with, but we see that all the banks contribute to our facility, but then they also want some business from us, but we cannot serve everybody. So in order that we prefer to have a smaller amount of banks and keep everyone happier, and then also try to discuss with our groups and the business units whenever possible to try to accommodate to a certain banks that we agree in the beginning.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You just shout, Mark.
You mentioned the bank connectivity project that you're going to do.
Yes.
Being a holding company, to what extent would that centralize payments from the businesses?
To the holdings, let's say, of its group. Yeah. So to the group treasury of its group, which they perform their payments, and they have several cash pools, and they have their major banks. We want to keep to involve this, to bring into this bank connectivity solution. So it's at the moment we are in a negotiation phase, and we are trying. We came up to 40 banks, but we really want to try to be critical on this because it's a very large number of banks. So we want to the most possible every group look critical on the banks and see where it would make sense that they want to have their visibility of their bank accounts and their bank statements.
Any other questions? Don't be shy. Or maybe a raise of hand. Is anyone of you in the crowd also looking at a similar project as of right now, whereby you're looking at.
Front row. No.
Yeah, cool. Good. So hopefully there's some takeaway and learnings there. Okay. If there's no further questions, then I guess, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you so much, Joanna, for kind of presenting, and also Bart as well to help with this presentation. If there's any questions, feel free to reach out to myself, Depan, Bart, also Mark on both Ion and Zander's side, as well as Joanna for any questions on SHV. We do have a booth, as Mark said, at the bottom, just next to the stairs. So if you want to have a chat later on, feel free as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.